In early 2026, one of the most powerful AI CEOs in the world sat on stage and said this. Some of his own engineers don't write code anymore. They just let the AI do it. He thinks that within a year, AI could be doing almost everything a software engineer does, start to finish. Not in some sci-fi future, within a year. So today we're answering the question everyone's typing into Google. What is AGI, and could it really already be closer than most people think? Stick around, because at the end of this video, I'll show you the exact test scientists say would prove it's arrived. And almost nobody agrees on the answer. First, a quick promise. This video isn't going to bury you in jargon. By the end, you'll be able to explain AGI to a friend in one sentence. And we're going to focus mostly on the positive case. What happens if the optimists are right? Because that's the story that gets buried under all the doom headlines. But I'll also give you the honest pushback, because some of the smartest people building this technology think it's still years away. So which is it? Let's start with the basics. AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence. Here's the one-sentence version. It's an AI that can learn and do almost any mental task a human can do, not just one narrow thing. Compare that to the AI you already use. Your phone's camera AI is brilliant at recognizing faces, but it can't write you an essay. A chess engine can beat any grandmaster alive, but it can't drive a car. That's called narrow AI. Genius at one job, useless outside it. AGI is different. Think of it less like a tool and more like a coworker. One you could hand almost any task to, and it would figure it out, the way a smart new employee would, even on tasks nobody trained them for. That's actually the definition OpenAI's CEO has used. AGI as a coworker you could hire remotely, who could do anything you'd be happy with a remote employee doing. Just behind a screen instead of in an office. Simple enough. But here's the twist, and it's the reason this topic gets so heated online. Nobody agrees on exactly where the line is. Some experts say AGI just means matching an average human at most office work. Others say it has to beat every human at everything, including creativity and common sense. That gap in definitions is why one expert can say AGI is basically here, and another can say we're decades away. And they're both technically right, by their own definition. Keep that in mind, because it's about to matter a lot. Let's look at who's actually building this stuff and what they're predicting. Here's where it gets interesting. In 2026, the people running the biggest AI labs on Earth are, for the first time, putting real dates on this. Anthropic's CEO has said he expects AI systems that are broadly better than humans at almost all cognitive tasks by 2026 or 2027. And he said it isn't just a podcast soundbite. It's in an official submission to U.S. policymakers. Microsoft AI's CEO has predicted human-level performance on most professional tasks within 12 to 18 months. Google DeepMind's CEO, who's historically been the most cautious voice in the room, has moved his own timeline up too, from a 5 to 10-year window down to something closer to 3 to 5 years. Even NVIDIA's CEO, whose company builds the chips powering all of this, has said that by some definitions, AGI could arrive within 5 years. Now, why the sudden confidence? 2 words. The loop. AI is getting good enough at coding and research that it can help build the next version of itself, faster than humans could alone. Feed that loop long enough, and progress stops being a straight line and starts curving upward. That's the mechanism the optimists are betting on. So what would actually change if they're right? This is the part that gets skipped in most AGI videos, because fear gets more clicks than hope. But let's talk about the upside, because it's genuinely enormous. Science and medicine. Imagine a system that can read every medical paper ever published, cross-reference it instantly, and design new drug candidates in days instead of years. Researchers already use narrow AI for early drug discovery. AGI would mean doing that across every disease at once, not just one lab's specialty. Scientific research generally, climate modeling, materials science, fusion energy, problems that are stuck partly because they need thousands of specialized experts working in parallel. An AGI system could effectively be thousands of tireless specialists. Everyday work and time. If routine cognitive work, scheduling, drafting, analyzing, coding, gets handled by AI coworkers, humans get freed up for the parts of work that actually need a human. Judgment, relationships, creativity. Education. A patient, endlessly knowledgeable personal tutor for every student on Earth, not just the ones who can afford one. This is the scenario some researchers call post-scarcity. Not that work disappears, but that the floor of what's possible rises dramatically, curing diseases we've fought for a century, solving problems that have outlasted entire scientific careers. That's the world the optimists are picturing. But, and this is important, not everyone thinks we're actually that close. Here's the fair part of the story. Even among the CEOs predicting soon, there's real disagreement. One says 12 to 24 months. Another says 50 odds by the end of the decade. That's not a small gap. And plenty of respected researchers think soon is wrong entirely. Some point out that today's most advanced systems can win a math Olympiad medal and still fail at simple tasks a 12-year-old handles without thinking. Researchers call this jagged intelligence, superhuman in narrow spots, surprisingly weak in others. That jaggedness is exactly what a true general intelligence isn't supposed to have. Other scientists go further and argue the current technology, the architecture behind today's chatbots, simply isn't built to get to AGI at all, no matter how much bigger it gets. That's a real serious position, not a fringe one. So who's right? Honestly, nobody knows for certain. Which brings us back to that test I promised you at the start. Remember the question from the intro? What test would actually prove AGI has arrived? Here's the uncomfortable answer. There isn't one everyone agrees on. Some researchers propose a remote coworker test. Can it do any job a remote employee could, unsupervised? Others propose testing transfer learning. Can it take a skill from one field and apply it somewhere totally new the way a good scientist can? One influential 2024 framework even proposes levels of AGI, like levels of self-driving cars, because the honest truth is, progress isn't a light switch, it's a dimmer. That's really the big takeaway. AGI probably won't arrive as a single headline-making event. It'll arrive gradually enough that people will be arguing about whether it already happened, months or years after the fact. So, is AGI coming soon? The people building it increasingly think yes, possibly within the next couple of years. The people watching most carefully say, maybe, but don't trust anyone claiming an exact date. Either way, this is one of the biggest bets humanity has ever made on itself. And for once, the story isn't just about risk. It's about what we might actually get to solve.